Hey guys, what's hanging? It's Morna, your host here, bringing you the best in dive safety tips and so much more. In this week's Dan Show, we're going to be talking to Dr. France about malaria. So this is a good time to kick back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome, Dr. France. How are you doing?
Well, thanks, Mornay. Nice to be back.
Yeah, it's always nice to have you back on the show.
Thank you.
So, Dr. France, many of the calls we get via the hotline are malaria related.
Absolutely.
Not that people have malaria, but want advice on it. You know, I'm
Yes.
traveling to Mozambique. Should I take medication? Is there a risk if I don't take medication? So I guess it's a good topic to explore and find out, what medication one should take. Is it safe to dive with the medications? And maybe just sort of a general spin on the topic as such.
Well, malaria is very relevant. Millions of people die every year, and it certainly is one of the most common problems that travelers have other than accidents.
Yeah.
So yes, there are essentially three basic principles, ABC. A is to avoid getting bitten, and there are a lot of articles that we can refer people to, and the links will be made available. So whatever you need to do to make sure you aren't bitten. Secondly, if you do develop symptoms that can be anything like a flu or traveler's diarrhea, immediately, if you are in a malaria area, presume that you might have malaria, and it could occur within 7 days of your first exposure. So that's the shortest period in which you could develop symptoms after getting into a malaria area. You essentially need a blood test until you know what else it is, or it's proven to be malaria. So that's the B. And the last thing is, yes, it is appropriate to take chemo prophylaxis, which is medication. So I want to dispel a myth. Some people are led to believe that you'll mask the symptoms of malaria if you take medication.
Okay.
No, you'll survive the malaria if you do. So please, I want to dispel that myth. If it's appropriate, and for most areas in Africa it is, you should take medication. So that's the preface. ABC, avoid being bitten. If you have symptoms, the blood test is necessary, and yes, in a malaria area you need to take chemoprophylaxis. The next aspect is, what do you take?
Yeah.
Now, for the diving population, it's relatively simple, because most of the issues around malaria medication relate to either kids or pregnant and breastfeeding women.
Okay.
Now, usually divers don't fall in those categories, so for most divers it's okay.
Yeah.
And then there are three medications to consider, of which the first one we would virtually always want to exclude, and that's mefloquine or Lariam.
All right.
It's popular because it's once a week, but it can cause significant side effects that can be confused with decompression illness and even cause psychosis like madness, and it can be long lasting.
So no go.
No go. If you're on it already and you haven't developed side effects, I wouldn't ban anyone from diving if they've taken it safely, but I would not want to recommend anybody starting Lariam if they plan to go diving, just because if you have side effects you can have it for weeks.
Yeah.
So that's the one. The two others are the ones that are most likely to be considered, and the first one is our primary recommendation, which is doxycycline. It's related to tetracycline, 100 milligrams a day, and the two issues to remember is, one is it can make you more sun sensitive, so you need to wear good sunscreen, and two is you need to take it on a full stomach at night. Now, we want to preferably avoid dairy products or calcium, but in truth that doesn't seem to be a major issue. So that's the one we would typically recommend. It's also the cheapest, and you need to take it up to 4 weeks after leaving the area.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going to have a long-term exposure, you need to check. There's more information to consider, but for a typical dive trip, doxycycline is going to be the one to choose.
Yeah.
There is more to read about, so please go to the articles. And the last one is Malarone or Malanil, depending on where you get it. In Europe and America, it's branded in different names. What's nice about it is that you only need to take it up to a week after you've left the malaria area, and it actually does kill the parasite. The only noteworthy side effect is it sometimes aggravates motion sickness. Sometimes can cause a skin rash and so on, but that's fairly rare. The biggest disadvantage is its cost. It's significantly more expensive than the doxycycline. So I would say, from a practical point of view, doxycycline is almost always the first choice, and when in doubt, then the Malarone Malanil is almost always the right choice, but the cost may be prohibitive.
Well, I guess depending on which case you go for, the one contributing thing one needs to take into consideration is that 7-day period
Absolutely.
that you spoke about.
Yes, yes. So in other words, any symptoms that resemble flu or traveller's diarrhea, or in fact any viral-like illness with fever or malaise or a severe headache should be presumed to be malaria until proven otherwise. And then take the right medication and don't wait. And of course you want to start that before you actually start diving, so that you know there are no untoward side effects.
It's an interesting period, because I'm not talking about, say, a weekend dive trip or a long weekend or something like that, but a general dive trip would be, I guess, roughly 7 to 10 days in most cases. So,
yes.
I
well,
guess
you don't need to be exposed for 7 days, but the first symptoms would appear at the shortest within 7 days of the first bite. You know, that could happen on the first day. So essentially, if you get symptoms within 24 hours of arriving in a malaria area, you'd almost always rule it out. But anything weird after 7 days within or after having been in a malaria area should be suspicious of malaria.
Well then, I mean, the other part where you need to take care of your skin and, you know, protect it and all like that. I mean, that goes without saying. Out in a dive boat, I guess it's a good idea to do that in any case.
Yes.
The motion sickness part, I guess, is if it's not that likely to occur, it's not that bad. But I guess the cost factor in some of the medications can deter people.
Yes.
But I guess if you want more information, we have the articles available. We make them available in the links below as well. And when in doubt, I guess the best thing, Dr. Franz, always just call the hotline.
Absolutely.
We've got the people available to assist you and give you all the necessary information. But talk about Mozambique and malaria areas, they're usually in remote type of settings, isn't that so? And it goes without saying that's really where the nice dive sites are.
Absolutely, that's right. And you need to be prepared. You need to be prepared. You need to have gear. You need to realize that first couple of hours, if anything happens, you need to have resources available to help you. So one needs to be able to travel with the necessary first aid gear and with medication. And if you are traveling with medication, it's usually wise to have a doctor's note or at least a pamphlet indicating why you're taking it. Now with malaria prophylaxis, that isn't a problem, that's self-evident. But if it's prescription medication, then it's very important, especially if you're traveling in the Asia Pacific area where they're very, very strict on drug control.
Well, I mean, there's that, and then just, you know, having the ability to, you know, help somebody with a general cut or, you know, scrape or something like that. Now, you know, part of what Dan does, we provide some safety gear, and I actually brought quite a nice little general first aid kit along, and I've got it here. You can see it comes in a nice waterproof case, got the Dan branding on, but I think what really makes this special, Dr. Franz, is that it's got a hot and warm pack in there. And I think especially with marine life, it comes in handy.
Absolutely, because heat is one of the most effective ways to deal with it, and I'm sure we're going to cover that in one of the future shows, but having access to hot packs is very important, and vinegar is the other thing.
Well, I'm just unpacking this here just to give the viewers a bit of a feel for what we have in here. And one thing I've noticed is that we don't have any kind of drugs in here. No headache tablets, no antibiotics, all that kind of stuff. And it's quite interesting because many times people will phone us or get in touch with us and ask what kind of muti do we have in the boxes. And I mean, there's a reason why we don't have those sort of prescriptive drugs and things inside.
Yes. Well, of course, it's a good place for you to put your malaria pills. As long as you don't just keep them there, you should take them.
Well, in any case, if anybody's interested, this is available via the Dan online store. You can just log on to the Dan website, click the relevant link, and do a quick search. Otherwise, you know, just give us a buzz at the hotline or even the office, which is 011-266 4900, or drop us a mail, mail@dansa.org. So I think that wraps it up for this week. Any parting thoughts when it comes to malaria?
Well, just don't ignore the symptoms. Don't pretend it's something else. If you're ill after you've been in a malaria area, even if it's a vague memory, up to a month afterwards, it can still be malaria. So you need to advise that whatever doctor you consult or whoever you call, that you have been in a malaria area. We really can't overemphasize this enough.
Yeah.
Mornay. We don't want to scare people off. We love for our divers and our members to travel, but they need to be sensible about it.
Yeah. And don't get bitten.
Absolutely. That's it.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you for watching, and we'll catch you at the next Dan show. Ciao for now.